Hey folks, and welcome to the 6th part of my Beginner's Guide series. In this video, I'm going to take a look at the endgame activities of Tom Clancy's The Division 2, and what's waiting for you after you finish the main campaign. Let's jump into it. If you're new to The Division 2, make sure you check out the rest of my Beginner's Guide series with videos looking at creating a new agent, loot gear and weapons, crafting, recalibration and more. I'll link them all in the description below. So in this video, I'm going to go over what Endgame is, what Endgame is to The Division 2, and what kind of endgame activities you can find after finishing the main campaign in Tom Clancy's The Division 2. For this one, I'll be assuming you finished the main campaign and story for the base game, and moved on to the first of the world tiers. I didn't realise how long this was going to run until I sat down to write the video, but I'll add timestamps and chapters to the video and description to help you find anything specific you're looking for. The term endgame refers to the final stages of a game that take place after the main story or campaign have concluded. In Tom Clancy's The Division 2, the main goal of the endgame is to use the activities available to increase the overall power of your character by gathering more powerful gear and weapons, known as farming, in order to take on more difficult content. First, I want to talk about the term farming and what it means for everyone who's new to loot style gameplay. Farming is the act of repeating content to collect loot and upgrade your character. As an example, after you finish the main campaign, you'd want to start building up your character with better gear, but your character might not be geared up enough to jump straight into heroic difficulty missions, which is the hardest difficulty a standard mission can be set to. As you play through different difficulty missions in The Division 2, each has a different quality loot that will drop in terms of attributes. All mission difficulties have the chance to drop a god roll piece of gear, god roll meaning that all of the attributes are maxed out. For more information on loot and attributes, see the second part of this Beginner's Guide series, which I'll add a card for here. But the lower the difficulty the mission is set to, the lower the minimum attribute can roll. This means if you have an attribute from 1 to 10%, on a mission that's set to normal difficulty, there's a chance you can find an attribute rolled anywhere between 1 and 10%. But if you change the difficulty to challenging or heroic, you might not find the same attribute rolled lower than 6 or 7%. Because of this, when you first start farming for endgame gear, you might start by playing hard difficulty missions, until your character is a little bit more powerful and built up. Once you feel like you're ready to take on more of a challenge, you might increase your difficulty to challenging or even heroic. This is a pretty standard way to handle gear and build progression to some players, but some others may prefer to jump straight into heroic content for more of a challenge. The idea of farming for endgame content is actually subtly introduced to The Division 2 without most noticing. This is done through the world tier and Gearscore systems. After you've finished the main campaign and taken back the Capitol building, a new faction will arrive in Washington DC, the Black Tusk. This is a much smarter and better equipped faction than you've faced so far, and with their arrival you'll also enter the world tier and Gearscore systems. Each world tier has its own base level of difficulty that will require you to increase your gear score to get more powerful to face the next one. Your gear score is calculated by working out the average gear score between each piece of your gear to give you an overall power level, similar to the light level of Destiny or the power level of Marvel's The Avengers. To progress to the next world tier, you have to complete one of the strongholds that's now been taken over by the Black Tusk, but each world tier has a minimum gear score you'll have to reach in order to gain access to the stronghold and go up to the next world tier. And each world tier is also hard capped at a specific gear score, meaning you will have to go up to the next world tier in order to increase it. World tier 1 is capped at gear score 300, world tier 2 is capped at 350, World Tier 3 is capped at 400, World Tier 4 is capped at 450, and max gear score is 515 at World Tier 5. So in order to increase your gear score and move up to the next world tier, you're going to have to farm for gear. Once you hit World Tier 5, you'll gain access to the targeted loot overlay for the main map. This is so if you want to farm for a specific type of gear or weapon, you can open your main map, press the button shown at the bottom of the screen for targeted loot, and this will show an overlay on the main map showing you where you can find better drop chances for specific gear slots, brands, or weapon types. If you want to see your gear score and world tier, there are a few places you can look. First, open your world map and look in the top right corner, and you'll see Score, followed by your current character's gear score, and just below that it will display the world tier you're currently in. You can also see your gear score in the inventory menu just below your character's name, also in the main menu on the center tab. Entering the world tier system also introduces you to specializations. These are an additional layer on top of your character's build. Each specialization comes with a special weapon, grenade type, their own unique skill variant, and a skill tree. You will automatically unlock the weapon, but have to work through the skill tree. But to work through the skill tree, you'll need to earn specialization points in order to unlock the branches of the skill tree. There are 6 specializations in total, 3 that you will unlock the moment you enter World Tier 1, and 3 you'll have to unlock by completing their field research, which are a collection of 5 stages of tasks, each unlocking different rewards, with the final stage unlocking the specialization. To find the specialization menu, quick travel to the White House and head inside. As soon as you walk through the door, look left, and next to Coop the Quartermaster, where you unlock your skills, you'll see another space that says Specializations. Interact with this space to open the menu. The 3 specializations you have access to from the start are the Demolitionist, that comes with an M32A1 multi-shot grenade launcher, Fragmentation Grenade, and a skill tree with a focus on explosive damage and resistance, and an artillery variation of the turret skill. The Survivalist, which comes with a crossbow with explosive bolts, an Incendiary Grenade, a skill tree with a focus on healing others, and the Mender Seeker Mine variation, which follows and repairs friendly armor. And the Sharpshooter, which has access to the TAC-50C rifle, Flashbang Grenade, a skill tree focusing on stability and marksman and rifle headshot damage, and it also comes with a Tactician Drone skill variant, which functions as an eye-in-the-sky version of the Pulse. The other 3 specializations, which had been added over the first year of the game's life, require you to unlock them by completing their field research, as I mentioned earlier. I won't dig too deep into these, but there are a list of tasks you'll have to complete, such as set X number of enemies on fire or apply 2 status effects to a single target before defeating them, which at the end will unlock the specializations. You can find the field research by going to the specialization you want to unlock and pressing the button at the bottom of the window for field research. The 3 that you can unlock are Firewall, which comes with a K8 Jetstream flamethrower, Cluster Grenade, a skill tree with burn duration and health on kill, and a variation of the Crusader shield called the Striker, which does extra damage to enemies in front of the shield, and uniquely you can also use the flamethrower specialization weapon with this shield. There's also the Gunner specialization, with a minigun, Riot Foam Grenade, a skill tree with increased rate of fire and armor on kill, and the Banshee Pulse variation, which fires a cone that disorientates enemies caught in the wave. And finally we have the Technician, which has a P017 missile launcher, EMP grenade, a skill tree that gives you 1 extra skill tier and damage to robotics, and the Booster High variant, which boosts and refreshes your and your allies' skills. There is also much more to each specialization skill tree to explore than I've mentioned, such as unique armor kits, sidearms, and other talents. In order to unlock different talents, perks, and other things inside the specialization skill trees, you'll need to earn specialization points, as I mentioned earlier. You can earn these by completing bounties, projects, heroic or level 4 control points, and invaded missions. I'll talk a little bit about level 4 control points and invaded missions and strongholds shortly, but not all projects and bounties reward the points, so double check the rewards before starting one. Now we've talked about farming, world tiers and specializations, let's move on to what kind of endgame activities you can find in Tom Clancy's The Division 2. First, all of the activities you've played so far are still available as endgame content. Each mission and stronghold can be replayed at different difficulties, as I mentioned earlier, from normal, hard, challenging and heroic. Bounties are also still available and reset weekly. These can be found on the main map by moving 1 tab across to the right. And the open world activities such as territory controls and propaganda broadcast still appear on the map, but now they serve a different function. By using different surrounding world activities, you can now level up control points in difficulty for better rewards or more of a challenge. When you look at a control point on your map, you'll notice it has a number 1 on it and red lines connecting it to open world activities, with a plus sign and a number. The number 1 on the control point shows its difficulty, with 1 beginning at normal, 2 being hard, 3 being challenging, and 4 being heroic. The number after the plus on the open world activities is the amount completing that activity will increase the difficulty of the control point that it's attached to. So if you complete 2 activities with +1, your control point will increase to 3, which is challenging. If you forget which number is which difficulty, by hovering over the control point on your map, it will display its current difficulty in the information on the left of the screen. On top of the usual missions, bounties, and open world activities, the Black Tusk will also continue to attack Washington DC. Every week, they'll reinvade the map, taking over a few districts, 3 main missions, and 1 stronghold. Completing these will reward you with more loot and specialization points. The invaded missions and strongholds completely change how the mission works and are structured, giving them a completely different feel. The Division 2 also has 2 8-player raids. These are long, large-scale missions that move from boss encounter to boss encounter, each one with their own unique mechanics needed in order to take them down. Both raids also have their own unique exotics that can only be obtained by playing the raids, such as the Eagle Bearer from Dark Hours, or the Regulus from Einhorse. The raids are some of the hardest content available in the Division 2, and require a well-optimized build and team coordination to make it through them. The first is Operation Dark Hours. That takes place in an abandoned airport where players will have to rush to stop the Black Tusk and their new drone deployment weapon system, Razorback. The second raid is Operation Ironhorse. In this raid, players will have to take on the True Sons at a still operating foundry. Both of these raids come in 2 difficulties, Normal and Discovery. The normal difficulty is the way the raids are supposed to be played, with all of the mechanics in place and exotics to be collected. But don't be fooled by the word normal. The NPCs during a normal difficulty raid are more like heroic or harder. Discovery is a much more toned down difficulty, with easier NPCs and simplified mechanics, designed to give players more of a way to get experience in the raid at a more relaxed pace. But because of this, while you're playing a raid on Discovery, you won't be able to get any of the raid exclusive exotics. Another difference between the 2 difficulties is that you can matchmake with other players for a Discovery difficulty raid, but not for normal difficulty. To play normal difficulty, you'll have to have a group already organised and ready to go. If you want to start a raid, you'll need to visit the helicopter pilot near the base of operations. To find her, quick travel to the White House and turn right into the social area. Directly ahead of you, you'll see some stairs heading up to the helipad. Go up those stairs, turn left, and at the top interact with the pilot to open the raid menu. If you ever struggle to get a group together for a raid, there's always players grouping up in the official Division 2 Discord server. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Just like the first game, the Division 2 has specific areas of the map which are PvPvE, or player versus environment. These are the Darkzones. Unlike the Division 1, the Division 2 has 3 smaller Darkzones instead of 1 large one, with each of these having a server limit of 12 players, meaning that you can't have more than 12 people in one server at a time. Each of these 3 Darkzones have a slightly different layout for different gameplay styles. The East Darkzone that you'll find on the far right of your map, just above the Capitol building, has large open areas with long straight roads, which is ideal for long range combat. The South Darkzone is at the bottom centre of the world map, and is made of very tight confined spaces to encourage close up and personal fighting. And the West Darkzone, which you'll find in the top left corner of the map, is more of a mid-range area, combining long roads with tight alleyways. To enter a Darkzone, you can either fast travel to the main gate, which is this purple icon here, or to any of the checkpoints around the outside of the Darkzone's map, which is shown as these purple doors. Once you enter a checkpoint, by opening your map you'll see that more map icons have appeared in the Darkzone that checkpoint is attached to. This is because by entering that checkpoint, you've entered the server that Darkzone belongs to. There are a few icons that you will and might see, so I'll give you a quick overview of each icon, then go into a little bit more depth shortly. First, the purple fist is a landmark. These are PvE points with enemies that drop loot. If you see the same icon but in red, That is still a landmark, but the difference is another player is currently engaged with that landmark. The landmark icon completely disappears from the map once they're complete, but these do consistently respawn around the map, so there's never really a shortage. There's also orange arrows with an orange square radius. These are extraction points, places you can extract loot gathered in the Dark Zone. Red skull blips on the map signify other players who've gone rogue. This means they're either looking to PvP or potentially steal from another player. Yellow skull icons on the map are manhunts, rogue players who've killed more than 5 other players. With these, you'll also see yellow computer icons appear on the map. These are points where manhunt players can go to buy off their manhunts, removing the status from themselves. And in the centre of each Dark Zone there's also an orange square house icon. These are safe houses that non-rogue players can enter or be used as respawn points. Every so often you'll also see supply drops inside the Dark Zone, which appear as an orange parachute icon. These are timed crates protected by hostile NPCs that drop loot if you can open them in time. No matter which of the 3 Dark Zones you enter, they all work in the same way. In a Dark Zone, any loot you pick up is highly contaminated, so before you can use it, it needs to be extracted. This means that loot you collect in the Dark Zone does not go straight into your inventory, but instead into your contaminated bag, which can hold 10 items in total. To see your contaminated bag, open your inventory and move 1 tab across to the right. Any loot collected in the Dark Zone will be seen here. There are a few different ways you'll find loot in the Dark Zone, but the main and fastest way to gather it is by completing landmarks, which are shown on the Dark Zone map as purple fists, with the difficulty shown just beneath. These are sort of like small control points that you can attack, defeating a few waves of enemies, then a named boss which will drop loot. But as I mentioned a moment ago, once you engage a landmark they turn red on the map for all other players, letting them know you're there. Once you've gathered some loot, you'll need to extract it. You can only hold 10 items in your contaminated pack, so you'll need to extract quite often. To extract loot, you'll need to head to an extraction point and fire off a flare by holding down the button prompt on screen. Then a timer will start until the helicopter arrives for you to extract your gear. When the timer reaches 0, the helicopter will hover above and lower a rope down, and a second shorter timer will start. You can then put your contaminated loot on the rope ready to go. Once the second timer's hit 0, the helicopter will leave and you'll get an extraction complete screen with a list of loot you've managed to extract. To find the extracted loot, head to any place you can find a stash and move 1 tab across at the top to the mailbox, and you'll find your extracted gear in the deliveries section. Once you take it out of the deliveries tab, it goes straight into your character's inventory ready to use. And that's how you take loot from the Dark Zone into your character's inventory. But now we've covered loot and extracting, it's time to move on to one of the other large parts of playing in the Dark Zone. Rogues. In the Dark Zone, a rogue is a player that's able to attack and kill other players. Anyone can go rogue at any time. You can do this on PC by holding down the T button. On Xbox you hold down the map button, and on PlayStation you touch and hold the touchpad. Once you go rogue, a red skull will appear with a timer that counts down. If the timer hits 0, you will return back to SHD or normal status. But by killing players or doing other rogue activities, this will extend your timer. If a player kills another player in the Dark Zone, the player that's been killed drops everything in their contaminated bag. Not all of the gear, just the contents of the contaminated bag. So it's definitely not uncommon for players to go rogue, track down and kill other players to steal their loot. Also, if a player is extracting some loot at an extraction point and puts their bag on the helicopter's rope, another player can then cut that rope, causing the loot to scatter around the extraction point. In the Dark Zone, negative interactions also automatically toggle you as rogue. So by cutting an extraction rope, or if you find a gear chest, by opting to steal instead of open the chest, these actions will automatically set you as rogue. While you're rogue, if you kill 5 players or more, like I mentioned earlier, your rogue status changes to manhunt, and is shown by a yellow skull instead of red. When you're set to manhunt, You can buy off your Manhunt status by going to one of the Manhunt terminals that appear on the Dark Zone map. There are 3 in total, and you can buy off at any of these terminals, or you can choose to cancel a terminal. Cancelling off one of the terminals will increase the rewards you earn for buying off your Manhunt, but also means there's fewer locations for other players to track you down in, eventually narrowing it down to just 1. You'll also notice if you look at the 3 Dark Zones on the map, one of them will always have a red knife icon on it. This means that that Dark Zone is invaded. Just like with missions and strongholds, the Black Tusk will invade one of the Dark Zones at a time on rotation. When a Dark Zone is invaded, the NPCs will become the much tougher Black Tusk, and all of the protective turrets around the checkpoints, which in a normal Dark Zone will automatically fire on rogue players or NPCs, will be deactivated, making it all round a more punishing experience. If you prefer more of a pure PvP experience, The Division 2 does have Conflict, a 4 vs 4 player versus player game mode. In Conflict, there's 3 different game types. Skirmish, where each team has a certain number of respawns, first team to run out of respawns loses. Team Elimination, in this game you simply have 1 life. Once you die, that's it. Last team standing wins. And Domination. In Domination, there'll be 3 points on the map. Each one needs to be taken and held against the other team. You gain points the longer you can hold a position. The first team to gather the needed amount of points wins. To join a game of Conflict, open your world map and go across 3 tabs to the left to the Conflict tab, and choose the Quick Play panel. Then you'll be added to a queue for a match. This can be done solo or in a group of any size. When you join a match, before it starts, you'll be given the choice of the 3 different game types on random maps, and everyone involved in the game can then vote on which one they'd like to play. The Division 2 also has a full paid expansion, the Warlords of New York. That brings to the game a whole new map of Lower Manhattan, story missions, side missions, and open world activities. It also rises the player's level cap from 30 and the world tier system up to 40. And then after that introduces a nearly infinite leveling system with the SHD levels, which also gives your character permanent attribute bonuses up to SHD level 1000. Warlords of New York also added different ways to play the endgame content, including directives. These are modifiers that can be added to the open world and missions and add an extra challenge and more rewards to the gameplay. At level 40 you can also change the overall difficulty of the world map, setting the entire map to heroic if you really want. The expansion also saw the return of legendary missions, giving the Division 2 legendary versions of the first 3 strongholds: District Union Arena, Roosevelt Island, and the Capitol Building. These, along with the raids, are some of the toughest content currently available in game. We also received a brand new game mode, the Summit, which can be found in the top right of the map. Playing the Summit, you'll need to ascend a 100-floor skyscraper with random objectives and NPC factions on each floor to reach the very top. The Summit also has extra challenges you can complete for extra rewards. Not only this, but the Summit is the only place in the entire game where you can actually select your own targeted loot, meaning you can farm whatever you want in there. And really, there's also a lot more to do in this game than I've gone over in this video, such as commendations, which are the Division 2's version of achievements or trophies, plenty of different types of collectibles, exotics, hunter puzzles to complete, and more to discover. Like I said at the start, I had no idea this video was going to run this long, so thank you if you watched it in its entirety. And I hope this video has given you a good idea of what kind of endgame activities you can jump into after you beat the main story and campaign of Tom Clancy's The Division 2. If there's any topics you'd like to hear me cover in any of these beginner's guides, please let me know. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Division 2 content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.